Well, school is out and summer's here. We have some reflections, some ideas, and special memories. Isn't that what summer is all about? We will get into all of this and more up next. Well, it is summer at Chapel Hill Academy, and I am here with our directors, elementary and middle school, Katelyn Freitas and Crystal Thompson. Today we're going to talk all about R&R, and most people think about R&R as rest and relaxation, but here for us it is reflect and reset. So we're going to be reflecting on the year, we're going to talk about some parenting tips for the summer, and we're going to have a little fun along the way. So before we begin, let's have a little background information to get to know Crystal and Katelyn a little bit more. Let's start off with how many years, Crystal, have you been a parent and an educator?
I have been an educator for 19 years, sometime before I came to Chapel Hill, and I have been a parent for 11 years.
All right.
And this will be my 8th year at Chapel Hill. So I've completed 7 in education, and then I've been a parent for just a little over 10 years.
Fantastic. And so I'll add to the mix. I've been a parent for 32 years and an educator for 35 years. So all together, everyone, we have a collective amount of years of 53 years as parents and 61 years as educators. So we're going to bring some information to you that, you've got a lot of wisdom here with all of those years. And so hopefully you'll be able to pull some things away that can be kind of fun. So let's start off with a little background. Think back to your last days of school. We just had our last day of school just a bit ago, a little over a week ago, and it was so much fun. It was a wonderful, culmination. Think back to your memories when you were a kid. What stands out of your last days of school?
Track and field. Oh, I forgot. Track and field day comes to mind. I can vividly remember getting those ribbons.
Yes.
And then a lot of times I remember the last day of school, we'd always have some sort of sleepover planned because we could stay up late and not have to, get up early in the morning. That was kind of my memories.
That's very fun.
I also love the track and field days. I remember lathering up that sunscreen, getting a chance to wear a baseball hat and get out and do those long jumps and all the fun activities with my friends. So as we do those activities here at Chapel Hill, it just is a little nostalgic to me of seeing those kids doing those great activities outside together.
Yeah, I love that. In fact, I think back to the last day of school. We had chapel, and then we ended our school day, and the kids just burst out the doors, ready for fun, ready for summer, with their bags of stuff and kind of jumping into the arms of their parents like, let's go.
Yeah.
It was really fun to see. And I think back to my years as a kid, and this is a long way back, but our last days of school at my little elementary school out in Hanover, Minnesota, we always had some kind of a little field trip. And in those days, we packed our little brown bag lunch, and we had this big container that we put all of our pop in. And the way to keep our pop cool back in those days was we wrapped our pop can in tinfoil. Everybody had a pop can wrapped in tinfoil with your name, taped onto it with like masking tape and your name on it. And so our teachers would be digging through this big bin of pop. And it'd be kind of warm, but we thought everybody thought the tinfoil would keep it cold. So that was kind of, we would go, in one of the years we went to the brickyard in St. Paul and dug on a big pile of rocks and looked for fossils and came back with a backpack full of fossils. We actually found some. So I think back to my last days and those fun little field trip getaways that you did at the end of the year. Okay, another question is, thinking back to your experiences, what year in school do you feel like you really gained the most or had such an experience where I really grew that year?
I can think back to some of my middle school years. I don't remember the exact years, but I had a great math teacher that really brought things into the classroom. For example, one of the projects we really dove into is how to balance your checkbook. And we had real checks that we had to write and use. So that was a really fun experience. So just going back to some of those hands-on learning things that are so important was a really special memory to me. And I feel like at that time I was excited about learning math.
Well, and I
from
feel
that
like
experience.
That's such a good point where kids really respond to things that are relevant and that they're useful. Because as teachers, you often hear, when am I going to use this? But having experiences where it's really applicable to life, that's meaningful. I can see where you'd pick that memory.
Yeah, eighth grade year really sticks out to me in my memory. I went to public school and actually moved from Montana to Minnesota my sixth grade year. So it was kind of that transition. But by eighth grade, I really had a good group of friends. And I had a specific English teacher, eighth grade English teacher, which I think maybe led me to want to pursue that when I became a teacher. And he really wove his faith into the literature we were reading. And I specifically remember when we were studying The Hobbit and him actually talking about his faith and reading a passage from the Bible to us. And I don't know
That's
if
so
that would
great.
fly now,
No,
you
not
know,
in
in the public school.
Not at all.
But I remember feeling so like validated, like, oh, this is totally in alignment with what I'm learning at home, and
What a
how
blessing.
cool to have a role model in class, you know, bringing that in. And
Yes.
it's cool now because that's all we do here. So,
Right, we get to
yeah.
do that every day.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great example of that inspiration that really touched your heart and brought you maybe further along in what your decision was for a career in your future.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. It was a
Great.
great influence. And he's still a teacher there today, and I see him around town, which is
Oh, that's
really fun.
great.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I think back to my years between fourth and fifth grade. I was a bit of a disaster when I was in fourth and younger, just organization and getting work done. And then I had this fifth grade teacher that had super high expectations. And he called all of us by our given names. So it wasn't your nickname, it was your given name. And he just really brought us to this high bar of, you can do this, and that's what I expect. I grew so much as a student, and I really became organized and independent and worked really hard. And he's the reason I became a teacher. And so when I was in college, I went back and did some student teaching and experiences back in his classroom. He was still teaching. That was really great. And then after that, when I had my daughter, I went back again and I had her on my hip, and I went and visited him when I had my first baby. So
That's sweet.
yeah. Okay, let's get into some Chapel Hill or our current school year reflections. I want both of you to think about what are some wins at our school this year that you want to just celebrate or reflect upon as we step away from a wonderful school year.
What comes to mind right away, just because it was more recent, were the kindergarten and eighth grade graduations. As a parent, this was our first child to graduate kindergarten from Chapel Hill. And to compare that just graduation experience and the scripture that they memorized to the graduations we had for our older two, that was just really, really touching and really sweet, and just like a confirmation of this is so great that they're hiding God's word in their heart, and that's the priority. And then on the flip side, the eighth grade graduation, I've only known these kids for 2 years, but it was really cool to hear their reflections in their speeches and some of the writing that they shared, to hear those touch points along the way that have built their character and experiences they've had. It was just a really cool culmination of seeing the end caps. And just, yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, those were really wonderful experiences to be a part of and witness and hear our students sharing. Something for me I see just in the beauty of Christian education is in some of the maybe small moments, but stepping into classrooms and hearing the kids recite scripture. And I remember one time I went to a classroom, teacher called me down. She said, okay, we are getting ready for this boot camp chapel, and I have a whole list of names. All these kids want to help. They want to pray. They want to worship. They want to be part of the experiences. So I just see our kids really growing in their desires for their faith, wanting to lead. And those chapel experiences were really special this year.
Yeah, it's such an honor to actually have a front row seat
Yes.
to all of this growth that we see in our students, and the joy and the celebration that they share with their teachers and their classmates through all of it. I resonate with both of your memories of this year, of just those kids growing in their faith and the little ones who receive Christ in their heart this year as their Lord and Savior, and making that important decision and understanding it. It wasn't just words, it's just understanding what that means and wanting to grow in that new plan for their life. And then also reflecting on our graduation this year. It's very special to celebrate just that final time, that last year as they move on to high school, and hearing the sentiments that were shared, from students, but also from their teachers and people that have been part of this journey, that they've been here. This particular group spent 10 years, or a lot of them, or a few of them actually, junior K, first group of junior Kers here, 10 years at Chapel Hill, and then many in kindergarten. And along the way, they added to this beautiful group of kids that graduated. And so it is an honor and a privilege to see that all unfold before our eyes. As you spend time with students and parents, what are some things that you hear them talking about at our school, or with what they're experiencing or learning or growing in here?
This year I heard from a parent how impactful the chapel had been for their son, and that it was something they came home excited to share about, share with their family, wanting to look up the scripture. And it was really meaningful to just hear how that really touched their heart. We don't know all the impact that God is having on these students, the lessons they're hearing, and how that will carry into their future. It's really powerful to hear those positive impact stories. So thank you, families.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. One thing that sticks out to me is this year, the 7th grade life science class has been learning about the different body systems. And they touched on the reproductive unit. And we actually had a neonatal surgeon come in, a parent, to speak just about how fearfully and wonderfully made we are, and actually share of because of the fall, what are some things that can happen in the womb and while life is developing. And it was really, really cool, because one parent came to me after that experience and said, my daughter, she was really touched by that unit, and just really can't understand how abortion is legal, and it's given her a heart for babies, and maybe God's going to use that in her life someday. And those are the kinds of stories that are so cool, where kids are connecting their faith with something in culture today, and it's such a real, tangible thing. And it really moved her and touched her to kind of ask some of those questions of her family too.
And such important questions to ask. And speaking of culture, I'm thinking about a parent that made a comment to me that shared, this past year in our state, there's been some challenges in culture and things happening, and just really appreciating that the classroom was a place that could be discussed and shared with different perspectives, but always putting Christ in the center and looking at a biblical worldview through all of the things that are happening around us. And kids need to be able to have those conversations wherever their perspective might be at this time, and to feel comfortable and to talk through it with a teacher who's listening and guiding and sharing, and classmates as well. And I think that really opens up doors for that community that we just really appreciate and value here. All right. So learning is always happening. That kind of learning, just beyond the books and the worksheets and the tests and things. It's the real world life experiences that are so important, so valuable. And sometimes, although we get the front row seat and the teachers do, maybe parents don't always get that. They see the papers come home, but what are some things that you would like to share with parents that, they're actually learning so many more things than you maybe even realize? What are some things you'd like to point out that you see or know that our kids are growing in at Chapel Hill?
I'll take this one first. With our renewed focus on our cornerstones of Christian education, there's been so much growth happening for our students. I sent a lot of cards out to teachers this year to share with students, and some just tangible examples. I love seeing students demonstrate their responsibility just in the simple things of cleaning up spilled foods that happen from time to time in the lunchroom, or students demonstrating their respectful attitude towards their peers, helping classmates, again, as those pencil boxes tend to spill, or just helping their classmates work through hard things, solve problems together. And it's been really wonderful to just focus on those cornerstones of Christian education with their students.
We see that all the time with our kids. They really are growing in that area, those areas. What do you have?
Yeah, I think the recognition's great too. In the middle school, I'm thinking about leadership and independence. There have been a lot of opportunities for students to lead the little ones in devotions or elementary buddy reading time. We have overnight field trips in the middle school, so they're kind of getting this time to be away from home. And what does that look like? the student advisory committee, giving them some ownership over chapels and fundraisers and different things like that. I think that's been really cool to see. And I think in middle school too, just that resilience and grit, and it's okay to fail, and what do you do and how do you learn from that? Like, those are some of those life skills that they're practicing in a safe environment. So yeah.
For families or our audience that do not know the cornerstones, you just want to give just a very brief overview of the 4, what they are, that we're really working on with our students.
Yeah, the 4: growing believers, respectful peers, responsible individuals, skillful learners. So those are the areas that we're recognizing and trying to give recognition to through the cornerstone cards, through shout outs on the morning announcements, teachers identifying those and celebrating those character traits that they're developing.
Yeah, so it really weaves together our mission, which is, to glorify God and assist our families, but we want to be able to provide that Christ-centered education to inspire spiritual maturity and the academic excellence. So we want to really develop them spiritually first and foremost, academically to be prepared for the future, but then also as a community member, a citizen, a peer that can interact with people positively. And they're doing a great job with that. All right, let's move on to summertime. Summer is a very important time for all of our kids to step away, our staff, our teachers, to step away, to rest, to reset, to have time to be prepared for what's next. And so we want to really encourage those healthy summer activities that are productive, but also helpful in their development. So what are some ways that you can encourage families to build those healthy habits and healthy activities? So let's talk about how important is downtime for them versus structured activities, and just your perspective on that.
You got it. I think both are really important. We see Jesus himself stepping away, having that quiet time. I think routine is important. So there's structure within that, but giving kids freedom to create and explore and play. But maybe there's some simple routines to build in, this amount of time of reading spent each day, taking a pause, our family's going to do these activities together. But having some regular routine can help them as they transition back into school in the fall. But having that downtime is really valuable too, to just allow the mind to rest and create and think.
A mental rest is so important for everybody, for adults as well as kids.
Yeah.
So that's good. What you?
Yeah, I think what you said, having a little bit of structure, like I feel like for our family, we try not to over schedule ourselves in the summer intentionally. We might sign them up for a short summer camp or something like that, where they're trying something new, like a 1-week play or something like that. But every day, yes, having kind of that work time set out. It could be reading, it could be working in a workbook, it could be, going to the library where they get to check out a book about something they're interested in, just to kind of maintain a little bit of structure. Yeah, for sure.
Are there things that you guard for your family? Like maybe some families might, okay, we're going to keep bedtimes, or we're going to keep dinner time as our family. Or what are some things that you just really continue through the summer that you may have going on during the school year?
Yeah, we keep dinner time as a family, eating together. We might move it outside or something fun.
That sounds good.
But yeah, that's something we keep. We try to keep our little family Friday night movie night going.
I just heard about that. I think one of your daughters said,
Oh, yeah.
Were you at movie night on Friday? I'm like, what was that? And so she said, we have movie night. She thinks everybody has Friday family movie night.
Well, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people do, but yeah. Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, we also move our dinner times outside, but keeping the bedtime maybe pushed back a little bit later. But I think that rest and routine is still important, so they know what to expect. And also just having keeping our routines with our family devotions and reading time together. We're going to just keep on doing those things that we find valuable as a family.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I think one of the things this summer that I've kind of tasked our oldest with, encouraged her because she loves this. She's more of a leader. Is like, hey, you're gonna lead devotions in the summer in the morning and read it to your siblings, or
That's great.
So just trying to tee off something. It's not a chore for her because she's like, ooh, I get to do school with them.
Yes.
I'm like, yeah, you can play school with them, but have them use their workbooks. And she's like all about it.
That's
Versus
great.
mom being the one to be like, okay, everybody take out your book.
Now, oftentimes I have parents ask, and I'm sure you do as well, what should we do this summer? What should we get workbooks and do math and tutor and read? And I know there's all kinds of different needs and perspectives, but what is your big idea? What is your main thought about summer homework, summer learning? Just to kind of take the pressure off parents a little bit.
I think providing, and this is true during the school year too, but obviously your teachers have certain curriculum they have to get through. I think providing choice is huge. Letting the kids kind of have a say in what they're learning about. So for our middle boy, he's really into fishing and all, so he wants to get books about whatever, and I'll see him reading it about different fish and hunting or whatever. That's great. He's learning something.
Absolutely.
I think the hands-on learning a skill, going fishing, whatever it might be, I think there's great value to that. And even just some of those life skills that maybe you don't have time in the school year because you're so scheduled, to teach them how to cook something or do the laundry.
I think the idea of keeping kids learning is the reality that they're always learning, whether they're
always learning.
they're
Yes.
just playing in your mind and in their mind, which is wonderful. But maybe they're learning to really problem solve because there's a little problem going on with the kids are playing within the neighborhood, and they're going to try to figure out who's on which team and which rules are part of the game. Those are all good things. Parents just step back and let
Yes.
them work it out. Those are
Yes.
wonderful learning opportunities. Or maybe they're learning to serve in the family. We got to get this laundry all accomplished so we can go out for a bike ride together as a family. So just keeping the mindset that they're always learning. They're learning from you. They're watching us always as parents, what we're modeling to them, and picking up on our habits. If as a parent, if I'm not reading a book and I expect my kids to be reading, oftentimes they're not going to read. And so just setting that that modeling mindset also, that they're watching us.
Yeah, they need that downtime, that break. They're working so hard during the school year. Their brains, their minds are growing and developing and bringing in new information and processing. I always say to a parent, "So what should we do this summer?" I say, kick a ball, get outside, move, be active, hike, camp. They're learning about nature through that, as you were mentioning, just the life experiences, working things out in the neighborhood or planning something for the family. Like those are great learning opportunities that really go a long way, and that keeps their mind fresh. It keeps them growing, but it just takes a little bit of a diversion from the actual academic learning, which everybody needs a break. We all need a break sometimes, and kids are no different. So letting them reset so that they can be ready to go for fall is good. I'd always say keep them reading. You know, reading is great. And if you're in the car and you're driving on the road and you can do some mental math games to keep them thinking of number sense, great. But you don't need to feel like you need to get them through another grade level before school starts. So
I think too, like allowing your kids a little bit of freedom to get bored.
yes, that is very important.
So I was like, this happened this past week. So the lilacs in our backyard had bloomed, and I like sent the kids outside because I need to work on stuff. I'm like, it's a beautiful day, go outside. And then I like check in on them a little bit later, and they're in our cul-de-sac, and I see them with the radio flyer wagon and a Home Depot bucket. And I'm like, what are they doing? Knocking on our neighbors' doors. And I'm like, oh, let me run out there. Like, hey, what are you guys doing? They had made a sign that said lilacs, $3. They had picked a bunch of the lilacs, which at first I was kind of like, oh, what'd you do? And they were trying to sell door to door. And so that was actually a great learning opportunity because I was like, $3 for this little thing. Do you think many people are going to buy it? And so then they like cross it out and $1, you know, and then they sold a
On
couple.
sale, clearance.
And it was just really sweet because I think the learning in that was also just a social thing of talking, not being afraid to talk to adults. And
yes.
we know our neighbors, so it's within a boundary. Like I wasn't letting them go to strangers' houses or something. But I think that's so good for as they come back to school and they need to advocate for themselves and talk to their teachers. And, practicing some of those things are really valuable too. Ordering at a restaurant, whatever it
Some
might
of those
be.
social skills.
Yeah.
I'll say that some of the kids in the mornings, we stand at the door often. You say, good morning. And some of the kids, you can tell, have had training and practice. They look at you in the eye and say, good morning, Mrs. Grosz. And some kids haven't maybe had as much of that training, and they look down and they keep going. And so encouraging kids to have eye contact with adults and addressing adults or responding to adults, that just builds such confidence and comfort level with talking to people. And so then when they need to go talk to a teacher about a grade maybe that they're not appreciating or happy with, they have that practice of looking at an adult saying hello, and it's comfortable. And again, it's just that self-advocacy that leads to self-advocacy, talking to people eyeball to eyeball, which is a lost art these days, with all of the technology sometimes.
I think my first time back at Chapel Hill, I met a family for the first time, still attends, and their son, a middle school boy, his mom introduced, and he looked me in the eye and shook my hand. I was actually kind of like, oh, like I was actually
Super
kind of taken aback by it. And I'm thinking, wow, like the respect that has clearly been, the confidence, I think.
So a good place to
Yes,
practice
that's great.
that is when you go into church, often there's greeters.
Hey, there you go.
Encourage your child to respond to the greeter, because they always say good morning. Encourage them to practice with that.
Or sign up for the
Easy.
greeting team.
They're even better. Sign up to be a greeter. That's a very beginning step to building that confidence.
Now, one thing I really just warms my heart is when I'm greeting or talking with students, how was your day? When they turn back to me and say, how was your day?
Oh,
or what did you do?
Art of-
Just the ability to respond back with a question. We oftentimes, again, the dinner table is a great way to practice that. Having your kids ask what you did today, or how was your day? What did you
Sometimes
do?
when that happens, and kids, some kids do that here. Mrs. Grosz, how was your weekend? Because I'll say, how was your weekend? Good, how was yours? It's kind of like, to your point, oh, you're asking me. Yes. So encouraging that conversationalism is what it is, and having those social skills, social graces. Yes, very important to practice that. Dinner table is a great time to do that.
It's also It's also that idea of humility, of being confident in yourself, but being more interested in other people. And I think, especially as middle schoolers, it's very me, which is developmentally appropriate. It's all about them. And so you do have to train and teach that, like to care about what others, put them above yourselves, which is a biblical thing too.
Yes, very good. As they get older, there's other ways you can even go further with that. If they have a return at a store, they have to manage the return and deal with that with the person they're purchasing or returning with, all kinds of things. But those are such good skills. All right, we're going to switch over. We mentioned a little bit about lost art of communication. Let's go to technology. So we have had a bit of a shift this year. We began what's called our SET program, Sequenced Educational Technology. And what that means, it's a dial back from what we had prior, which is a one-to-one computer-based program where fifth and up, actually fourth and up in a way, but fifth and up had their own device. They would transport back and forth to school. Everything was pretty much living on their devices or in the cloud, Teams. And so through the research that we have really been digging into and exploring, and it more and more is coming out now all the time, we're learning so much brain responses to technology in young brains and young learners. And so it's our responsibility to adjust what we do according to what the research is telling us. So it would be a disservice to continue because it's the thing to do, knowing that it's detrimental to our young ones and their brain development. So we have a dial back, and we have a very systematic, intentional plan to present technology at age-appropriate times and very scope and sequence based on all the skills that they need for high school. So share with me some highlights of that, what you've witnessed or seen in our classrooms, and how kids are responding and how they're doing.
I'll start. I think it has just been wonderful to watch and observe in the elementary areas of our school. I hear things like, "Oh, we're able to really get further in our curriculum than we ever have before because there's so much redeemed time." A lot of time lost in managing students getting devices, doing things on the devices, and really just going back to some of those paper and pencil modes of teaching. Also, seeing kids really enjoying some of the maybe traditional methods of learning math facts and using games and manipulatives to practice the skills that they've been working hard on. In our fourth grade class, just really the intentionality of teaching kids the typing with the shield maybe you and I grew up with, learning how to type and not looking at the keys, but really intentional teaching of the skills that are still needed for the world that they're growing up in. But the dial back has been wonderful in my observation at elementary.
Yeah, in middle school, the social aspect of it
Yes.
is huge. And even the eye contact in the hallways, with peers, with their teachers. One thing I noticed too, just in going into classrooms and doing observations, is there's not as much distraction from what's going on in the classroom because they don't have the screen to like take away their focus. They're also not looking at like a book and the screen and like it's just a little bit more zoned in, I think. There's one other thing I was gonna say, and now I'm kind of blanking, but I think overall it's been really good, and I think the behavior issues have been down in middle school as well. Just
because they would-
misuse,
misuse
yes,
of devices.
yeah,
and, like,
misuse of
or
devices.
websites or whatever. They were looking at games and things, and now they
Yeah.
don't do that.
Yeah,
But
that's
they've
been big.
appreciated the kids. Just quick, answers to questions that we might have. How do you like not having to carry this around? How does it feel? And they seem very positive about not having a device
I think
all
for,
the time.
for teachers too,
Yeah.
just with AI and having them handwrite more of their writing assignments, sometimes typing it for a final product, but having those rough drafts and things.
Right.
It just helps teachers really know where students are actually at
Yeah.
in their spelling, in their whatever it is.
And the strengthening of our brains that happens when you are actually handwriting and the development that occurs there. It's that processing timing. Your brain is processing differently than your hands, and the computer does that differently. So how your brain and your hands are working hand in hand are how God made us to work. And the device kind of came in and got in the way of that. And so really using some of our God-given abilities more than just the device. And it's not like technology's gone away. I mean, we know that it's here and there's important skills to learn, and we prepare them for high school. We've got a great program lined up, 5th, 6th grade, and then practicing what they've learned in those grades in 7th, 8th grade. So that's been a really positive change for our students. I'll say the fewer numbers of homework that hasn't been turned in compared to past years because of devices and submitting things. I mean, they're turning papers in, and I think it's just a little bit easier for them, for that management. So yeah, I think it's been a really good change, and I know the parents appreciate it. And we had great responses from our families as well. And so we just really want to make sure that we are preparing them, which we are, and they don't need it super young. We want them to be children and enjoy childhood first and foremost too. All right. Let's talk about a healthy balance of screen time then at home in the summertime. So there's different kinds of screens. There's movies, the family movie night. There's just social media. There's games, all kinds of things. So let's talk about a healthy balance in your perspective. What can you share with families?
I think my practical advice would be just to be present. What is your child needing the device for? What's the purpose? Is there something you want to learn? And that may be a great mode to learn a new skill. Maybe you're typing up some homework so you can pretend to play school with your siblings. There are some things I think in my family that we allow the screen time for. That's been helpful, but other times we just simply remove the tech. So for example, when I am not home, that family laptop just stays in my work bag and comes to work with me. So it's not there for a distraction or a use that I don't approve of. So just being present, I think, is my advice.
Good. Knowing what they're
Yeah,
looking at.
the monitoring of
Yeah.
it. I think that's great. One thing my sister did with her kids was if they wanted to earn screen time, it was like you have to read for as many minutes as you get. Like, I don't know, she probably put a cap on it, but 30 minutes of reading equals 30 minutes of screen time. But so that's kind of an interesting thought. But I think anytime it's a shared activity like a movie, that's great. You can talk about it.
Enjoy those family times
Yeah.
on an evening that
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
spend time together.
A rainy day, yeah. But
Yeah.
I think I said this actually in the other podcast was not having a screen on your main level where everybody mostly hangs out. That is huge for us because it's not like right there as we should just turn on the TV. It's like it has to be intentional, and we have these outlet things that we can turn off or on. So like we have to turn the TV on for them to be able to
That's really smart, by the way. The
turn it on.
controlled outlets. Wow.
But it's just kind of
Yeah, I love it.
mean it's it just kind of removes that temptation. Like it's not the first thing they see when they come in the house. It's toys or whatever. I don't
You
know.
might appreciate that later when the teen music gets going. It's at bedtime. Use that outlet.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, what can you share with parents to encourage meaningful technology? What does meaningful technology even mean to you? I have ideas, but
Yeah.
what does that mean?
I feel like you touched on it, using it to learn a skill or create something new with knowledge that they have.
Learn how to do something that they're trying to help fix a tire. A tire. Kids don't do that.
Yeah.
Fix something.
I mean, maybe a bike tire. Yeah.
A bike tire.
One thing I thought of was technology is really a great like starting point. So maybe they want to research something, and this is even at school.
Yes.
So you can get that information so quickly now, but then it's taking it to the next level. Like because you get the information so quickly now, you can work on critical thinking or creating something new from it. But
It seems to me the whole idea is being present, knowing what your child is into, meaningful. I mean, it's useful. And not just sitting on technology all summer long when you could be outside enjoying the sunshine. In Minnesota, we are craving this time of year. We are talking about it in January. We can't wait till summertime. So just getting outside, getting a little vitamin D, and feeling good, moving your body. So not being on the games in the house, whatever. Okay, let's move on to I think it's our final segment, fun ending segment. All right, let's end this fun. I want to hear your favorite family go-to summer activities or traditions that you have as a family. Give some ideas to our audience, maybe to start some new traditions or new activities that are fun.
All right, my family favorite is camping, and we spend a lot of time doing this. Maybe in some people's perspective, it might be glamping, but we just like to get outside and create some family memories together. I think the idea of camping at first for me was not super exciting, but the more we've done that as a family each summer, it's just really brought us together. The technology is put away. We're outside enjoying God's creation. One thing that we do is we print our family photos. So we create little family photo books, and it allows the kids to kind of look back and see those pictures of the favorite places they went, their favorite ice cream that they had, or in some cases, some of the maybe challenges that we work through, like, you get that toy stuck in the tree. How are you going to get it out? And now all of a sudden, all the things we tried to get the toy out with are also stuck in the tree. Or remember, we saw that one, animal. We saw a porcupine that was so close to
There's
our
a
camper.
story here that
There's
I'm
lots
dying
of
to know.
stories.
A toy in the tree and a porcupine. Okay,
All
Crystal.
the stories, the fun memories, and things that we kind of work through together, the family challenges. So
Okay,
playing
so
some games.
for those of us who don't really have a picture of glamping versus camping, I know what camping is, and I have some rough memories of that. But glamping, kind of paint the picture, because anybody can glamp. 'Cause
Yeah,
it's not scary. It's like, oh, it's luxury in the wilderness
yes,
kind of
like
thing.
tiny house on wheels.
Yes.
You can rent RV, you can purchase one for a reasonable price. But that has given us the ability to have a little AC, take a shower after a day of being outside in the woods,
Yeah.
having a place to go and when it's raining and you're not dealing with like wet tents and things like that. So we love the glamping mindset.
Cooking experience.
Yes, your food, you don't have to pack everything in a cooler.
You
You
can go
don't,
all over. You don't have to
Yeah.
be stuck at one location. You can just see the whole countryside.
yeah, and there are great parks that are really wilderness types of parks where you might see a porcupine, or there are other types of campgrounds that we like to visit that are more water parks and
Yeah.
attractions types of things to do and see.
Various experiences.
Yeah, you never know when you're going to get a
Take your passion.
toy airplane stuck in a tree and you got to get it out. So all the fun things that we work through together and enjoy together.
All right. Do
I
that, Katelyn.
I can echo that. I think for me, it's just new experiences to create new memories. And actually, I got 3 disposable cameras for our kids, and I might like continue this throughout the summer for us to take on our trip that we're going on. But some of our favorite traditions is we buy a huge 100-foot poly roll. It's basically like a huge painter's tarp, but really thick plastic, and we make a huge slip and slide, and the adults even go down it. Lots of dish soap and tubes and things. That's very fun. We always go to the fireworks in Lake Waconia. The Carver County Fair is a must, at least one day, if not 2 days. And then in Waconia, they have Thursday night music. In the park, it's always been. Now they're kind of blocking off streets for it, but that's a really fun thing because we're walking distance and we like to walk up and go
Yeah.
listen to the music, and it's
A lot of
just
small towns do that.
small town stuff. I love
small
that.
town feel.
Yeah, love it.
that. You know, for us, cabin life for me has always been so special. And anytime I can get away to the lake and build memories on the water, getting the grandkids up on water skis was super exciting last summer, and just building those family memories. As a kid, we did the family road trip. And so I don't know how many families actually do that anymore. People are quick to get on a plane and get somewhere, and I get that because it could be very labor intensive to get 5 people in a little car packed full of bags and bags on top in the car top carrier.
Yep.
Going across the country only to camp. And I'll tell you one camping experience. It was out in Washington, D.C. My parents were all about, we got this tent, we got our sleeping bags, and we were all set to camp. And the first night it was a downpour. We were in DC just camping outside of the city. And we woke up in puddles of water. And so the whole next day we spent at the laundromat, washing and cleaning out all the stuff. So when I say glamping, that's appealing, is the glamping. That's why I like cabins, because you just have a nice cozy fire and your nice bed and outdoors.
It's an experience you would want to keep doing. Most of the time, people who tent don't continue tenting weekend after weekend because of the work, the rain.
The weather and the bugs, and but there
Yes.
can be a lot of fun to the roughing it experience,
Yeah.
like up in the boundary waters. Like you have to do it
Yeah.
once in a while.
Yeah, they're good learning
As
experiences.
a practice, I'll take a cabin any day.
Agree.
I don't even need a hotel. A cabin is perfect for me.
I just
so.
need a bathroom. That's all I ask.
See, yeah, cabins have those, usually. Usually. All right, everyone, that is a wrap for our school year, for our reflection, and just our 2 cents with some ideas for summer. So please join us again next time for another fun segment of the CHI Connect podcast. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll be back soon.